Rome, August 10th, 258 AD. The blazing summer sun scorches the crowd assembled in a square of the Eternal City. Roman soldiers shove a man in his early 30s into the middle of a circle formed by spectators both curious and appalled. His wrists are shackled, yet his face reflects no terror. In fact, a strange peace rests in his gaze. In the center of the square sits a torture device that would send shivers down the spine of even the most hardened soldier, an immense iron grill suspended above smoldering coals. The guards strip the man of his garments and stretch him onto the searing metal, tying down his limbs so he cannot escape. The heat already radiates violently, and his body hasn't even touched the grill. The coals are fanned. The iron begins to glow a menacing red. The stench of charred flesh begins to drift. The onlookers brace themselves for unbearable screams, cries for mercy, but what follows defies logic. The man stays still. His expression, rather than twisting in agony, seems almost enraptured. And then, to the absolute disbelief of everyone watching, he speaks to his tormentor in a calm, almost playful tone. "You may turn me over. This side's done." This man was Lawrence of Huesca, a deacon in the Church of Rome. His unshakable bravery in the face of one of history's cruelest executions would make him one of Christianity's most revered martyrs. To grasp how Lawrence reached this eerie moment of valor or madness, we must trace his journey backward. Lawrence was born around 225 AD in Huesca, in the Roman province of Hispania, in what is today Spain. He came from Christian parents and received a solid education, showing a deep religious commitment from a young age. During his studies in Caesar Augusta, modern-day Zaragoza, he met a man who would change his destiny, Sixtus, the future pope. Their bond grew strong, and when Sixtus relocated to Rome, Lawrence followed. When Sixtus became pope in 257, he made Lawrence archdeacon, the most senior of Rome's 7 deacons. This was no small honor. In the early church, deacons played vital roles, both spiritual and administrative. As archdeacon, Lawrence was charged with overseeing church property, managing alms for the needy, and safeguarding sacred relics and treasures. Yet, Lawrence's rise to this high office came at a perilous time. Emperor Valerian had unleashed one of the harshest campaigns of Christian persecution. In 257, he issued an edict ordering all clergy, bishops, priests, and deacons to offer sacrifices to the Roman gods or face exile. A year later, he escalated the decree. Those who refused would be executed on the spot. The persecution reached Rome swiftly. On August 6, 258, as Pope Sixtus II celebrated Mass in the catacombs of Praetextaeus, soldiers ambushed him. He was arrested and immediately beheaded, along with 4 of his deacons. Upon hearing of his mentor's capture, Lawrence rushed to his side. Tradition holds that when Lawrence saw Sixtus being led to his death, he cried, "Father, where are you going without your son?" "Holy priest, how can you leave without your deacon?" Sixtus, with a voice full of prophetic certainty, answered, "I do not abandon you, my son. I go before you. In 3 days you shall follow." Roman officials soon turned their eyes to Lawrence. As the church's treasurer, the prefect of Rome saw him as a key to unimaginable riches. He ordered Lawrence to hand over all of the church's wealth within 3 days. Lawrence asked for time, and it was granted. But he didn't use it to hide the treasure. He used it to give it away. For 3 days he labored, rushing to distribute every coin, every valuable, to the poor. When the appointed day came, he returned, not with gold or jewels, but with a procession of the poor, the crippled, the ill, and the old. "Here are the church's treasures," he declared. The prefect was incensed. Feeling mocked, he ordered Lawrence to be tortured until he revealed the actual riches. But Lawrence would not yield. He insisted that the poor were Christ's true treasure. Enraged by this audacity, the prefect decided Lawrence should suffer the most excruciating and prolonged death imaginable, roasted alive over a fire. The horror of this punishment is hard to comprehend today. The flames were kept low, ensuring the heat was torturous but not instantly fatal. Flesh would blister and cook slowly, causing a level of pain few could imagine. And yet it was under these circumstances that Lawrence uttered his legendary line of defiance. Some scholars have doubted the literal truth of this account, proposing he may have been beheaded like the others. But the image of a saint cracking a joke while being grilled alive has captivated believers for generations. Tradition tells us Lawrence didn't just endure the flames. He prayed for the city that condemned him. His face, witnesses said, radiated a strange light, and the scent around his burning body was sweet, not foul. So powerful was his witness that even Roman senators reportedly converted on the spot. After his death, his fellow Christians retrieved his body and laid him to rest in a cemetery along the Via Tiburtina. When Christianity was legalized under Emperor Constantine decades later, a basilica was built on his burial site. It would eventually grow into the Basilica of San Lorenzo fuori le Mura, one of Rome's 7 great pilgrimage churches. But Lawrence's influence didn't remain confined to Rome. In Spain, his birthplace, devotion to him inspired one of the nation's architectural marvels, the monastery of San Lorenzo del Escorial. Commissioned by King Philip II in the 16th century, it was built in the shape of a grill to honor the martyr's fate. Lawrence's image also became a favorite subject for painters like Fra Angelico, Titian, and Rubens. They portrayed both the torment and the otherworldly calm that defined his final moments. In literature, his story inspired poets like Prudentius, whose hymn to Lawrence and the Per Stephanon remains a timeless tribute to Christian martyrdom. What elevates Lawrence's tale above others is not only the physical courage he displayed, but the way he transformed suffering into a secret act of testimony. By declaring the poor to be the church's treasure, he laid down a truth that echoes through the centuries. Real wealth is not found in gold or silver, but in compassion for the marginalized. His quip on the grill, "You can turn me over," was more than gallows humor. It was a final assertion of the spirit's victory over flesh. How could someone manage a joke under such unspeakable torment? It challenges every assumption about the limits of human endurance. For many theologians, Lawrence's composure is evidence not just of grit, but of divine intervention. St. Augustine once wrote that Lawrence's love for Christ burned so fiercely within him that he no longer felt the flames around him. From this angle, Lawrence's death becomes more than a story of bravery. It becomes a glimpse of the miraculous. A man so consumed with love for God that even pain could not touch him. No matter how one interprets the details, it's clear that Lawrence's story speaks to something primal within us. His memory survives not only in churches and paintings, but in language itself. The word laurel, a symbol of victory, has roots in his Latin name, Laurentius. His legacy still compels us to ask, what are our treasures? What do we value enough to suffer for? Lawrence's life is a powerful reminder that there are causes worth our pain, even our death. In today's world, where ease and comfort are so cherished, his story stands in sharp contrast. It calls us to something higher, something deeper. True greatness, it says, doesn't lie in escaping pain, but in rising above it for the sake of love, truth, and faith. Within Catholic tradition, St. Lawrence is the patron of the poor, of librarians, guardians of sacred knowledge, and, with wry humor, of cooks. His feast is celebrated on August 10th, the day of his martyrdom. On that night, the heavens seem to honor him. The Perseids meteor shower, often called the Tears of St. Lawrence, streaks across the summer sky. Fire from the heavens, no longer instruments of pain, but of beauty. Light, where there was once only flame. And so, the story of the man who endured fire with a smile continues to shine, illuminating what it means to live with courage. Believe with conviction and suffer, if necessary, for love of something greater.